All right, guys, Cody here. Here to answer a few more questions about DS, about getting on board. For those that are interested. One of the questions is how often do you move? I would say, like many answers in DS, it depends. But most assignments, particularly when you start out, are 2 years long. If you go to a place like Afghanistan, Iraq, Pakistan, it'll be a year-long assignment with the option to extend. Um, Other assignments are 2 years, and as you pick up rank, you could go 3 years. Now, there are some assignments, I think MSD is like 4 years because you spend about a year in training. And then because you spend so much time in training, they want to keep you around. So not 100% on that, but some of my MSD guys can make a comment maybe. So generally you're looking at 2 years. Now, the move part or the assignments part's kind of a different thing because you can go to DC and you can live in DC for 6 years. So you won't be moving, but you'll move assignments. So within DC, if you're a newer agent, you might do 3 assignments in 2 years. Or you might be able to extend in one of those assignments, do 3 years and then another 3 years. And of course, we have the 6-year wall. If you're not familiar with it, I can comment on it further. But after 6 years, you got to push out and take an overseas tour. Now, you could, like some people do, go do 1 year overseas. For example, Baghdad, and then come back, and then your clock starts again on the 6 year, up to the 6-year wall. That's one of the things that some people that like being domestic could do. And you can leave your family. You can leave your family in DC, run out. You get like I think it's 3 R&Rs for 21 days or so a pop. So you spend about 9 or so months on the ground. But that's just one of the options out there. History of the agency. I'm no specialist in the history of the agency, but 1916 is when it started. We had our centennial, a few years ago, back in 2016. And it started out it was called the Bureau of Secret Intelligence. And then later the Office of Security. And then after that, I think it was around 1985, was called the Diplomatic Security Service. And around that time was when we were hiring they call themselves S-wires or Inman hires. DS made a big push to hire people after the Beirut bombings. And the guy that was in charge of looking into the bombings was his last name was Inman. So I don't know if many of those guys are still active. There's probably a few of them that are still out there. But back then they weren't special agents. They were security. I don't know what they call themselves. They were just security. And they did security at embassies, consulates, missions, and they might have did some stuff domestically, but I'm not sure. Something to look up. One thing to note about DS and DSS, I and every other special agent, DS agent, use the terms interchangeably. There's the Diplomatic Security Service or the Bureau of Diplomatic Security. The Bureau has thousands of people, 30,000 people. You got administrative folks. You got, your technical guys, so security engineering officers, security technical specialists. You got a ton of analysts. Of course, you got about 2,000 agents, maybe a little, I think it's a little more now within the organization. So, when you talk about the Diplomatic Security Service or somebody asks the difference between DS or DSS or DS agent, it's all interchangeable. If your question is, do I need a degree to get into DS? To be a special agent, yes. To be an analyst or an instructor, maybe in a particular field, then the answer may be maybe yes, maybe no. So something to think about. The other thing, let's see, what is the coolest part about being a DS agent? I probably should have gave more thought to this before I started doing it, but I'm on a time crunch. I got a family, so. But one of the coolest things I liked was the versatility of the job. They do say, you'll hear this a ton of times, and I'll probably annoy my former fellow colleagues by saying we're a jack of all trades. So what I liked was one day I could be in the Houston field office doing, investigations, and the next week I'm flying over to, Cambodia doing protection for the secretary's detail, and then come back and then, head out to Beijing to do a 3-month TDY of security management, right? So you can do a ton of things while you're at your field office, or if you want to switch every 2 to 3 years and not stay in one job, you could. So that I liked. I love the international aspect. I have my bachelor's in international affairs. I like international security. It's interesting to me. So I like to be able to go overseas, live overseas, understand cultures, attempt to learn languages. and just kind of everything about the overseas environment and overseas security management is something that I really liked. That said, it's not all friggin' rainbows and unicorns. There's certainly issues within the organization, but every organization has its issues. Every organization has its 10% of shitbags, and that's just something you got to deal with. So, I think by far, I've met and worked with more good people than I have bad. Way more good people than I have bad. I've had way more good experiences than I've had bad. But some of the bad things that I'm sure my colleagues would agree with me are the assignments process. Just the way you go about assignments and getting the assignments is tough. It's competitive. And then, some other things. But all in all, I mean, really not much to complain about. I loved it. Great career. What else do you have? What are you doing now? All right, so personal question. So right now I work for a defense contractor in San Diego. I do executive protection for the CEO. It's a program that I started up that I manage because there's certain elements to it. It's a little different than the government, a good bit different actually from the government, just because you don't have a team. It's a lot less. It's a lot more low key. But there's also some platforms that I manage myself, or some items that I manage myself. But the premise or the basics of executive protection or protection are the same, right? You do a lot of the work on the front end, in security advances and stuff like that. So that's what I'm doing now. Otherwise, making friggin' YouTube videos and promoting a book and an audio book. But if you're interested, I mean, I'm a nerd when it comes to this security stuff. I've been in the security field for nearly 19 years, from being a young Marine in security to, managing being an industrial security manager for several years for DoD before I got into DS. Of course, I did nearly a decade in DS, and I'm still in security. I like everything from executive protection to personal safety and security, all the way up to international security and what's going on in different countries. So for me, that's a good field. And if it's something you're interested in talking about further, hit me up and I'll be happy to talk about that. So as always, I appreciate the support. If you got questions or continued interest, I'll continue to do these. And we'll go from there. I'm on Instagram, agentunknown_book. I'm now on Twitter. And just kind of making random comments because I don't always have a picture to go along with my comments, but I have a lot to say. And then also I started a Facebook group, by the way. That's something I wanted to key in on. It's called Becoming a DS Agent. It's the first time I advertise it. So if you're interested, go to the Facebook group. What I'd like to do is build a community of people that are interested, whether it be interested in being an agent, just interested in the agency because maybe your spouse is interested in it, or you have someone that you care about is interested in it. Maybe your son or daughter is in it. And you can go there and answer questions. And what I'd like to do is build community, and you guys can talk to each other and ask questions. And of course, I'll be there if there's any questions. We can go through that. So look on Facebook. It's called Becoming a DS Agent. If not, just hit me up on Facebook, Cody Perron, Perron. And I'll help you guys out. So appreciate it. Book's still out, Agents Unknown. Actually, that's news. I'm getting it professionally edited. So finally made a little bit of money on it, getting a real editor and a proofreader to take some shots at it, because there were some issues, although people were kind enough not to comment too much on that. And of course, the audiobook is coming out sometime mid-April. So I'll ask you to look forward to that. I'll be reading it. However, it is professionally produced, edited, and directed. All right. Appreciate your time. Let me know if you have any questions. Out.